Good evening. I'm Karen Biskin, Head of Library Services at the Jewish Public Library. We're coming to you tonight from Montreal, where we are in week 6 of quarantine. Some of us find ourselves spending unprecedented and unplanned time with our young families. Some of us, unfortunately, are alone and in isolation. Biskin, Head of Library Services. Tonight's reading is a celebration of families, and it's written so beautifully and with so much love by Elaine Kalman-Naves. Elaine Kalman-Naves is a writer, journalist, and broadcaster. She's the author of 8 books, 2 of them award-winning memoirs. Her latest book is The Book of Faith, a novel. We are so glad to have her with us tonight. Please feel free to put questions or comments under the live stream on Facebook. We look forward to hearing from you, and I hope you enjoy her words as much as I do. Elaine?
Thank you, Karen. Thank you so much. I want to thank you and the library for doing this, for providing us with literary and cultural events to keep us connected and engaged and upbeat during this difficult time. The emphasis being on upbeat, I've chosen a couple of my journalism pieces that present slice of life stories of my own family. As you've mentioned, I've written whole books about the impact of the Holocaust on my family, but tonight I don't want to revisit dark pages from the past. The 2 short pieces I'm going to read are contemporary Canadian stories. They were both written in the same year, 1993, and in a way they're both mother and daughter stories. In the first one, I'm the mother, and the second one, I'm the daughter. The first one is called I'm Not Your Little Baby Anymore. It was published in the Montreal Gazette almost exactly 27 years ago to the day on the 12th of April in 1993. I'm not your little baby anymore. Beneath the anonymous jeans and turtleneck, my daughter Rebecca has the generously endowed proportions of a Victorian damsel. Wasp waist, full breasts, womanly hips. Even her features, winged eyebrows over hazel eyes, firm chin, suggest the sultry tempestuousness of Helena Bonham Carter in A Room with a View or Howard's End. But when we go shopping for her first formal dance, her 15-year-old taste in gowns is not Victorian. And the casually demure jeans turtleneck disguise gives way to disturbing expanses of bare shoulder and voluptuous cleavage. Do you like it? She asks. I do not like it. In fairness, I don't just dislike it because of all the soft white flesh exposed by the black dress with its shirred bodice. Her bra clings unflatteringly into her shoulders. Its straps parallel to the gowns. Thick red socks droop incongruously around her ankles. Why don't you try this one, I suggest, handing her a green and gold number with long sleeves. She thrusted back at me. It looked like a garbage bag. We buy the black dress. At night, wearing black stockings and her older sister's strapless bra, she models it for her father. I'm slightly appeased. The expanses of creamy skin seem reduced. But the cleavage, there's no hiding it. And she doesn't want to hide it either. Two weeks later, on a late winter day, frigid enough to freeze the soul, she brings home a single red rose in tissues, swathed in tissues and plastic, a gift from her date. This romantic young swain is only 14, tall and broad-shouldered, a hockey player. His name is Rob. I refer to him as her little friend. I say she is robbing the cradle. She tosses her head. She calls him every night at 8:30. They talk till 10, her bedtime. One evening, the week before the dance, she's still on the phone at 10:30. I start yelling from below. 1 minute, she yells back, but in distinctly good-humored tones. She emerges from her room in her bunny sleepers, cheeks flushed. Rob's asked me out. But you're already going to the dance with him. Mother, he's asked me out. I play dumb. What does that mean? I've been through this routine with our older daughter before. It means, she says, sailing by me grandly with a wicked look from beneath the winged eyebrows. It means that he's my boyfriend. I'm not your little baby anymore. Once upon a time, this minx would take my hands, which are thin and prominently veined, and say adoringly, I love the blue lines on your hands, Mommy. She was the clingy one in nursery school, the one who vowed that she would always be her pet name for herself, your baby a mummy. I told her that one day she'd grow up and leave home. She pouted. I'll always stay with you and be your baby a mummy. On the night of the dance, I again fussed vainly with a daring cleavage. Her father takes pictures, then drives her to her friend's home from where they'll go to the dance with their dates. My husband and I have a subdued dinner and watch TV afterwards. In my heart, she's still my baby a mummy, but I don't stay up for her. So I'll just pause here for a moment to say that my daughter, Rebecca, now 42 years old, is married to her high school sweetheart, not the young man in the story, but another young man she met soon after the prom. They have 2 children, a boy and a girl, 11 and almost 7. Rebecca is a grade 2 teacher in an inner city school in Toronto, at the moment working from home, teaching her students online. My next piece is called When Mother Got Married, and it was published in Canadian Living magazine in a series called Oh Canada in February 1993. When Mother Got Married. Under the marriage canopy, my mother looks resplendent in turquoise brocade, her suit reminiscent of the one she wore at my wedding 25 years ago. I stand at her elbow, holding the ring with which she will wed her new bridegroom. Kitty corner from me at the edge of the canopy, my husband catches my eye for an instant. His seem suspiciously bright. The rabbi's bookline study can barely accommodate the wedding party, closest of the close. My mother's and Max's children, grandchildren, brothers and sisters. As the rabbi reads the marriage contract, my 2-year-old nephew babbles in competition until offered the goblet of ceremonial wine, from which the bride and groom will sip as a symbol of their union. Taking the ring from me, my mother repeats the ancient Hebrew words, Ani l'dodi v'dodi li. I am to my beloved, and my beloved is to me. And I'm suddenly thinking of the 2 absent matchmakers who inadvertently arranged all this, and of the devotion, loyalty, and commitment my mother and Max have exemplified. And not least of the wonder of this country, where my Hungarian-speaking mother, a Holocaust survivor from Czechoslovakia, and Max, who was born in Kyiv in the Ukraine and had served in the Canadian Armed Forces in the Second World War, could meet. My father spent 6 years in Montreal's Maimonides Hospital, a shadow of his former self, his former vigorous self. My mother visited him there every day. Eventually, she became friends with Max, who came daily to feed and comfort his wife, Toby. My father and Toby also forged their own bond over time. Both unable to speak, they sometimes linked hands across their wheelchairs. Over the years, my mother's friendship with Max ripened into love. And when my father and Toby died within months of each other, there was nothing to prevent the two widowed septuagenarians from marrying. Nothing except the distinctly mixed emotions of their middle-aged children. Why can't things stay the same? I urged. You could keep your independence and still be friends with Max. I want to be with Max all the time now, my mother said, giving me a meaningful look. I don't want to have to keep on sending him home in the middle of the night to an empty house. Wrestling with my jealousy, I thought at length about my father's life. Like my mother, he had been a Holocaust survivor. He had lost his parents, his brothers, his first wife, his 6-year-old daughter. Against all his expectations, he had fallen in love again, married my mother, and created a new family. Long before his final illness, he had said, "When I'm gone, grieve, but don't grieve too long. Life is for the living." The rabbi passes Max a glass wrapped in foil. "Use your good knee," he jokes, alluding to Max's war injury. Max gets it right after the second lunge, and the shattering of glass releases us from the obligations of solemnity. Altogether, we're clapping, singing, and embracing, rejoicing at life's quirky surprises and ever unfolding possibilities. So I'd like to bring you up to date with all that has transpired with the characters in this story. My mother and Max had 6 years together before he died in 1998. At around the same time, my own marriage to the father of my children broke up. A year later, I met the man with whom I have shared a happily ever after life ever since. As of this past August, my mother, now 100 years old, is residing at Maimonides Hospital, the same facility where she looked after my father so devotedly and where she met Max. I haven't been able to visit my mother for the past 6 weeks. A week ago, however, thanks to some great staff and a newly introduced iPad program at the hospital, my mother surprised me with a virtual visit on FaceTime. When all this is over, when I'm able to visit her again freely, not virtually, I will tell her how I read this story here on Zoom for the Jewish Public Library. On O'Brien Avenue in NDG, I'm Elaine Kalman-Naves.
Thank you so much, Elaine. That was wonderful. I know that everyone enjoyed that as much as I did. It brought tears to my eyes the first time you read about your young children and then growing up. And mine is still at the age where they're holding onto my hand with all that young love.
Enjoy every minute.
I do. We have a lot of them right now.
You will all remember this.
We will definitely.
They will remember it. They will remember it. Even the little one will remember it. Special.
I think we all will remember this. It's a very strange time, but we so enjoyed having you tonight.
Thank you very, very much. Thank you.
All right. Good night, everyone.
Good night, Karen. Good night.